Hello, everybody. Welcome to our info session. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our info session today. We'll give it another little bit here just to let more people into the room. Welcome, everybody. Just giving a little bit more time here to make sure we let everybody into the meeting. All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Just a couple of quick things here. If you could just keep yourself on mute during the presentation. If you do have a question, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat. But we do want to make sure we are able to clearly hear you if you have a question. So please do raise your hand, or you can put your question in the chat if you have any questions throughout. But we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome to our info session. This is for IEOR for the MEng program. My name is Erica Dippendorfer, and I will quickly go ahead and introduce Professor Adler. He is our head graduate advisor, and we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation. All right, Professor Adler.
Okay, good morning all, at least here in California. Congratulations admitting this is a very competitive program, so you should feel good about getting in. Next one. This is where we are, the Bay Area, San Francisco. It's, as you know, it's a center of innovation and high-tech data analytics and healthcare design center. It's a beautiful area. The weather all year round is very good, and it's a big hub of activity. Are you going to show the movie right now? Okay.
There's a certain inexplicable magic that happens way out here in this cauldron by the bay, along these cliffs at the edge of the continent. An alchemy unlike any other anywhere else on Earth. A perfect collision of conditions, raw habitat and rare humanity. Where grit and guts meet brain power, optimism, and openness. A confluence that agitates into action a restless itch to create things that are brilliantly new and different. That launched railroads, electric streetcars, and television. That pointed prospectors to gold and put their denims on the map. A spark that lit the torches of great warriors, giants, and niners. That sent bicycles and skateboards careening down mountains. A Mustang GT flying down Filbert Street. A toy named Buzz soaring above suburbia. And the Millennium Falcon streaking through hyperspace. It birthed the Beatniks and the Summer of Love. It built a modern-day pyramid and its neighboring tower. It compelled a few crazies to forge an Uber, an Apple, a Google, and countless other never-been-done-befores. Here is home to Nobel laureates, top neuroscientists, and the newest whiz kid on the block, artificial intelligence. Here in this cauldron by the bay is the very motherland of innovation. If it's uncharted and unheard of, if it provokes and upends, if it dances to the beat of a different bongo, if it knows where the future is headed and gets there first in ludicrous mode, if it's a force that can be felt in all four corners of the earth, if it changes everything in an instant, well then the chances are it was dreamt up and built up here in San Francisco. It all starts here.
Okay, here you see some of the companies in this area, all very well-known, big innovation companies. Let's go to the next one. It's not really coincidence that in this area we have two great universities, Berkeley, that we are. We are the #2 in the world in public school. It's the national #3 graduate engineering school and #3 in industrial engineering in our program. Stanford is also right there. They are second engineering school, but there are only 6 to 10, tied with MIT and Purdue in the specific program of our graduate program. And we have a big influence in the development of the technology in Silicon Valley here. There is close connection between the schools and the industry. Next. Our department, which is, as you show, it's top in the country, it's relatively small. We are about half of the size of the other top 10 or 15, but we are very balanced between theory, like optimization, stochastic simulation, data science, and application like robotics and healthcare and energy. Next. Specifically, the theory like optimization algorithms, machine learning, stochastic modeling, simulation, robotic and automatic. And we have application like supply chains, financial system, energy system, and healthcare system. You would get core courses in both balance between theory and application. Next. This is the faculty. You have here on the picture 23 faculty. 4 of them are emeritus, but 8 of them are new in the last 4 or 5 years. So we are really growing. When the program started about 10 years ago, we have been about 12 faculty, but we are growing, and part of it because of the MEng program. Next. This is the head of the MEng program. I'm the head graduate advisor. Professor Lee Fleming is the head of the intellectual property and entrepreneurship strategy. And Professor Shingu, Tibor Mastorella, and Li Zheng are leading the FinTech program. Following our program, you'll have breakout room for these two considerations. Next. This is the faculty. We have a great faculty staff. You basically would be engaged with the 4 on the up and left corner, Heather, Jenny, Erica, and Ginny, and they will talk to you a little bit later, so you'll find about what they're doing and how you connect to them. And Jill is the department manager. Next one. And finally, our student population. We have about 600 students, and we have 4 graduate program, PhD, Master of Engineering, and Master of Analytics, which is similar to your program, the Master of Engineering, except that they don't have the business part. Instead, they have some more technical things. And we have a pretty sizable undergraduate program. And I think I'm done, Erica. You can take it from there.
Thank you, Professor Adler. All right. So we'll talk a little bit more about our program. But yes, so I'm one of the staff members here in IEOR. So I'm one of the graduate student advisors, along with Heather Wada, who is our graduate student services manager, and Jenny Huang, who is one of our student services advisors and the events coordinator. One other quick thing I did want to mention, if you do have any questions, please note that we are recording this session. So just keep that in mind if you do take yourself off of mute if you wanted to ask a question. But feel free to drop those in the chat or to raise your hand if you do have any questions. All right, so just a quick overview of the IEOR MEng degree. This is a one-year program, and it's a full-time program here in Berkeley. It has both leadership, business-oriented coursework, as well as IEOR kind of technical courses. Those kind of involving more stochastics and optimization, as well as technical electives. Students will learn how to manage complex projects. There's a capstone project which we'll talk a little bit more about. And like I said, combining both stochastics and optimization as the core courses in this program. So our overview, like I said, it's one academic year, so it's the fall and spring. The minimum GPA to remain in good academic standing is 3.0, and then there's a minimum of 12 units for each semester to maintain full-time status. The degree is a total of 25 units, and 12 of those are, or a minimum of 12 will be taken in IEOR. So those are our technical electives. And then the typical IEOR plan is to take both 240 and 241, which is optimization and stochastics, and those are taken in the fall. And then in the spring to take 2 additional tech electives. There are additional requirements for the FinTech and IPES concentrations, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then there are some comprehensive exams. There's a technical one, which is based on IEOR coursework, so 240 and 241. And then there is a leadership exam. And then finally, there is a capstone project with this program, and that goes throughout the fall and the spring. All right. So it's some more general information about the program. So like we said, the normative time is 2 semesters. This is currently a lockstep program, so just the 2 semesters. And we expect our students to graduate in those 2 semesters. We only consider exceptions in extenuating circumstances, which are beyond the student's control. So we can't accommodate requests for extensions that are, planned for voluntary reasons or non-academic reasons. Like I said, 25 total units. 8 of these are leadership, and then 5 of them are capstone, and then at least 12 are in IEOR. And these units are all going to be letter graded. All right. You should have seen your concentration indicated in your recommend to admit letter. So make sure you look at that. So you will either be in the management science and engineering track, which we sometimes call the general track, or you'll be in the FinTech or IPES concentrations. So this is just like a little breakdown of each of the concentrations. I'm not sure if someone maybe from FinTech or IP, if y'all, one of our faculty members, if y'all have anything to say at this point, just like a brief overview for everybody. If not, we can let y'all talk about that during the breakout. Professor Fleming, I see you came on camera. Did you want to say anything at this moment?
Yes, we're probably going to be expanding the IPES concentration to make it more of a technology, innovation, and strategy entrepreneurship focus. And we're going to be expanding it to be looking at AI. And so the projects will probably involve some AI if that's of interest to the students.
Awesome. Thank you, Professor Fleming. Anyone from FinTech have anything to add at this point?
Oh, I'm fine, and I can talk more about the FinTech in the breakout period.
Okay, thank you, Professor Zhang. All right. So a little bit more about the differences between the different concentrations and what courses students will take. So all 3 concentrations do take the 240 and 241 courses, which are optimization and stochastics. And then, like I said, those are taken in the fall. And then the management science and engineering students can pick 2 additional tech electives. and we will kind of share like a tentative list in just a second about which electives we plan for the next year. And then for FinTech, they will take 290, which is Applications of Machine Learning and Electronic Markets. That course happens during the fall. And then 2 courses from our financial engineering series. So 221, 222, 223 are typically the ones that are offered. And then for our IPES students, again, taking the 240 and 241 courses, also requiring 242A, which is a machine learning course, and then one additional tech elective. Please note that all of the tech electives are taken for a letter grade. If you're curious about changing your concentration, if you are currently in the FinTech or IPES concentration and you're wanting to switch to the Management Science and Engineering concentration, please reach out to our grad student services team about your request. On the flip side of that, if you are in the Management Science and Engineering concentration and you're wanting to switch to either FinTech or IPES, we will be providing more information during the summer about that. There might potentially be a chance to do that kind of switch, but that would happen in like a July-August timeframe under the faculty's approval. So with all of that, please note that concentrations are finalized in August, and students do need to commit to the concentration because they will be completing their capstone with the concentration in mind. So they need to commit to their capstone projects at that point. So just want to make sure we keep all of that in mind. All right, so going back to our courses, the 2 core courses, we have 240 and 241. 240 being the optimization course, learning how commonly available tools and computing technology can be used to solve practical decision problems and optimize real-world systems quickly and efficiently. And then we kind of list some different things that the course will focus on here. And then again, 241 is the stochastic course, where students will develop fundamental understanding of techniques for measuring and controlling risk, critical in designing and managing robust, large-scale global systems. And again, some topics that will be discussed in the course listed here. So like I said, all of our students do take these 2 courses, 240 and 241. That being said, there is an opportunity for students to look at, we have some alternatives. So 262A and 263A are kind of our PhD versions of the optimization and stochastic courses. So if you're interested in kind of a more challenging theoretical version of those courses, we will be providing directions about enrolling in those instead of 240 and 241. And those directions will be provided over the summer. So 262A, again, being the optimization course, and then 263A being the stochastic course. And then we just list some of the topics covered in these courses. But these are our courses for our PhD and MS programs, our academic programs. All right, so like I said earlier, students, you might have noticed that in our other slide that we had some chances for students to pick electives. So these are the electives we tentatively are offering for the next academic year, but we will share a list during the summer when we go to enroll in the courses, you know, a more finalized list during the summer, but this is kind of like a general idea. So financial engineering courses, we have supply chain, we have machine learning, healthcare analytics, transportation analytics, so a variety of different electives for students to choose from. All right, one quick thing I did want to mention before we go into the comprehensive exams, there is also a chance, so we have our courses that students must enroll in, the degree required courses, but if students do want to enroll in courses above and beyond the degree requirements, they can do so. So that does include courses outside of IEOR if students are interested in doing that. But students would need to talk to those respective departments if they're interested in enrolling in courses outside of IEOR. All right, so moving on to the comprehensive exams, we have 2 different ones. The first one being the technical one. This one happens during the fall semester, during the end of the semester, and it is a 3-hour written exam. This exam is required for all of our IEOR and MEng students, and it is based on the 2 required courses that all students take, so 240 and 241. All right, so those were kind of like a more IEOR focused requirement. We also have a leadership component to our degree. So the core leadership courses are listed here, and these also must be letter graded. So these courses are, the first 5 here are required, with the 295 being both the fall and the spring. And then students do take 2 additional courses, and there's a elective list that the Fung Institute has on their website. So you can check that out to see what you can choose for your 2 additional courses, leadership courses. I will say, so the IEOR department does not oversee enrollment in these courses. You might have been talking with the Fung Institute and attending different events that they are hosting this week. So they help with enrollment for these courses, and they have more information about these courses if you have questions. And then there is also a comprehensive exam that is based on leadership coursework. And like I said, the Fung Institute works with students with their leadership courses, so they will be administering this exam. And this normally happens in the spring semester. The format is normally individual oral exams that are related to the capstone leadership experience. And again, if you have questions about the comprehensive leadership exam or leadership coursework, we encourage you to talk to Fung Institute staff as they oversee that. All right, so the final component being your capstone project. So students do need to complete a capstone, and it will integrate the leadership curriculum with also gaining hands-on industry experience. And the capstone is related to your concentration, so that's why it's important to have the concentration. We have those finalized in August, so students can go ahead and get going with their capstone project. The capstone does include units that students enroll in, so that those are letter graded units, both in the fall and in the spring. If you have more questions about the capstone and how to, like the enrollment in the capstone courses, the Fung Institute does oversee this as well. And then this slide just has some sample projects from IEOR students, so you can kind of check out the different places and areas that our students have been working in for their capstone projects. And then the Fung Institute also has like different profiles for projects on their website, so you can feel free to check those out too if you're curious in what's been happening in the past. And then Professor Zhang, I see that you came off of mute. Did you have anything to add?
Yeah, maybe I just add one more, so that the capstone listed here are the general project. And in the breakout period, we will talk more about the capstone for the fintech program.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So the general, the management science and engineering or general concentration, yes, these are sample projects for those students. The fintech students and the IPES students do have the separate capstone, which we will talk more about in the breakout. Thank you so much for adding that. All right. We just did want to mention a few other things about the program. So career development, we do have a career development team that is housed in the Fung Institute. They have a wide range of services that they offer, from one-on-one meetings to resume reviews to cover letter, help, workshops, preparing for interviews. And these are specifically for the MEng students. So all of our students in the MEng program, not just IEOR, but also other departments as well. But they have specialized knowledge specifically for students, in the Master of Engineering degree. If you have any questions about the career services, we do encourage you to reach out to the Fung Institute. They do have more information on their website, as well as they have employment data from previous academic years of students who have graduated from our program. So we encourage you to check out that information if that interests you. Also, there are ways to get involved. There's a lot of different ways on campus to get involved, but we have student organizations that are kind of campus-wide, but then we also have affinity groups that are specifically for MEng students. So not just IEOR MEng students, but MEng students in general in different departments, different engineering departments. But these affinity groups help students, relate to each other around shared career goals and interests. And there are some different examples there of some different affinity groups in the past. And these groups can, host career-focused programs and events and just kind of offer a space to share, support, and learn, from each other, about each other. If you're interested in our affinity groups, we encourage you to go onto the Fung Institute website and look at those. And if you do have questions about that, the Fung Institute does kind of oversee the affinity groups, so we'd encourage you to reach out to them if you have any questions. All right, and then we just wanted to share some general information that we think would be helpful for you as you're making your decision. Specifically for international students, all of our IEOR graduate programs are designated STEM. If you're curious about OPT, information about OPT can be found on the Berkeley International Office's website. In general, if you're an international student, the Berkeley International Office is extremely helpful. They would be your main contact for any questions about your status as an international student or visa information. So we do encourage you to reach out to them if you have questions. And we included their contact information here on the slide. One thing we do want to note specifically about CPT is because an internship is not a degree requirement for the MEng program here in IEOR, we do not approve CPT during the academic year. So during the fall and the spring, CPT would not be approved. All right, and then I just wanted to highlight a few different campus resources that we have here at Berkeley. We have our disabled students program if you are needing accommodations for your academics. Like I said earlier, the Berkeley International Office is a great resource for international students. They have a lot of helpful information on their website that we encourage you to check out. Also, our university has a really great page here for graduate student housing, so both on campus and off campus housing, and kind of tips and tricks for finding housing here in Berkeley. So definitely encourage reaching or checking out that website if you are looking into housing here in Berkeley. And then, like I mentioned, we have the affinity groups on campus that are specifically for the MEng program. But if you're looking to get involved in other groups, so maybe like related to sports or language, some other, topic besides, Master of Engineering, we encourage you to look at our student organization here on campus to how to get involved. All right, so we wanted to make sure we had some time for Q&A. So we will be having our FinTech and IPES breakouts after we have this Q&A here. So if you have questions that are, highly specific for FinTech or IP, you might want to wait until then. But we wanted to open this up right now. If you have kind of more general questions about the program, we have all of our faculty and some staff here to answer any questions. So feel free to drop those into the chat or to raise your hand, and you can, come off of mute and ask your questions. I will stop sharing. Okay, I see I have a question in my chat that says, I was wondering if the MEng program is designated STEM. Yes, it is designated STEM if you're an international student. And then I see another question I have is IEOR and major. So yes, if you, so I know this meeting was posted on the Fung Institute's website. So this is specifically for the students who are admitted to the IEOR department. So if you are in another engineering department like electrical engineering or mechanical engineering, this would not be the correct space for you. So you probably have another info session that's going on within your department. All right, another question I see, is it possible to extend the IEOR program? So the program is currently a 2-semester lockstep program, just the fall and the spring. and we are not allowing extensions except for extenuating circumstances that are beyond the student's control.
Erica, I just want to add that students can take more courses than required. That's okay. And people often do that, but within the 2 semesters.
Exactly. Yes. So like we mentioned earlier, we do have like specific degree requirements, so that 25 unit minimum. But if students want to take courses above and beyond, so if you want to take courses outside of IEOR, perhaps in the business school or, in other departments, you can feel free to do that. You just have to work with those other departments to, enroll in those courses. But that is very popular to do, take courses above and beyond the degree required courses. All right, another question I see, someone's asking about deferral. If you have a question about deferral, we handle this on a case-by-case basis. So we encourage you to please email us. You can email us, I believe, maybe Jenny, you can help me or Yuri and drop our email in the chat. But we do, like I said, handle those on a case-by-case basis. So please send us an email about that.
I received a question, which was, are there any programs that lead to a PhD in the department? So no. So if you would like to pursue a PhD, you would need to apply with the rest of the PhD cohort, those who are interested in the PhD program. Erica, feel free to chime in if there's any additional information you'd like to add.
Yeah, so if you decide, during our program that you want to do a PhD, specifically within our department at Berkeley, we do encourage students to apply during the academic year. So like our application deadline is typically in December. So we have had in the past where MEng students, while they're in their first semester of their MEng degree, decide that they want to pursue a PhD. So they would need to, complete that application during the fall and submit it by that December deadline. But as Jenny said, there's not like a separate application process for students who are currently in one of our grad programs to get into the PhD. They do have to apply with the rest of, all the other applicants and be considered with the other applicants.
Maybe I just want to add, there are a number of MEng students, at least for the people in the fintech, decided that academic is the career calling for them, and they successfully applied for PhD program either in Berkeley or to other schools in the country.
Yes, we have had several students, specifically within IEOR, stay here and do a PhD. Yes, but other schools as well. Another question I see is, what is the average number of course hours per week in the program? And maybe a faculty member can help me with that if y'all have.
A typical course is 3 hours, and sometimes 1 more hour of discussion.
Thank you, Professor Adler. Let's see.
I mean, Erica, one thing is the question, what are the classroom hours or what is the workload?
I guess we could do both if y'all want to kind of help out with both.
So Elon described classroom hours. The workload is going to vary greatly based on the student's preparation. These courses can be very hard if you haven't had all the background or it's not fresh. On the other hand, if you have, it can be fairly straightforward. So it's going to vary greatly based on the student's background.
Thank you for adding that. Yes, that's important distinction. Any other questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat. Okay, I see another question. Are we allowed to change our concentration? So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, if you are currently in the FinTech or IPES concentration and you're looking to switch to the Management, Science, and Engineering concentration, please go ahead and send us an email. But if you are wanting to change to be in the IPES or the FinTech concentrations, we are looking to do to discuss those changes in the July-August timeframe. So we would be sending out information about that during the summer. But like I mentioned earlier, all the concentrations do need to be finalized by August, because the concentration will affect which capstone that you are in, and that starts, right away in the program. All right, another question I see is, yeah, so another question about kind of extending to take more courses. So you cannot extend the program to take more courses. If you are interested in taking more courses, please feel free to do so within the 2 semesters, so within the fall or spring semesters. The minimum requirements for the program are 25 units total, but if you want to take more than 25 units, you can feel free to do so. We do encourage you to take into consideration your time commitments. Perhaps you have a job on campus, perhaps you are really involved in different student organizations, perhaps you want to spend a lot of time on career development and making sure that or professional development, that you're preparing yourself for your future career. So we encourage you to take all those things in consideration before that you take on additional coursework. Also, like Professor Fleming said, like if you are maybe not as prepared for a certain course, maybe some courses might take a little bit longer. Your study time might be a little bit longer. So just take that in consideration if you are wanting to enroll in additional coursework. Yes, someone else is asking again about deferring. If you have a question about deferrals, please just email us that question, because we handle those questions on a case-by-case basis. So we don't want to discuss your situation in this meeting. We'd rather handle that through an email or an individual meeting. Okay, and maybe our faculty can help with this question. What are some usual academic backgrounds for incoming students? Are they from different fields of engineering, from computer science, or from other backgrounds?
Yeah, in our department, there are many backgrounds, but the key is to have some technical proficiency in mathematics and probability, and we check it out while we check your application. So probably all of you have the necessary background, but anything, and you don't need to have any particular courses in the past. It's just a general knowledge of mathematics and probability.
Thank you. All right, another question. Are there any research opportunities or opportunities for teaching assistantships during the summer specifically? So during the students are not going to be in our program during the summer. This program is only a fall and spring program, so students are not going to be enrolled in the summer. The program doesn't start until the fall, and then students graduate after the spring semester. But if you are interested in research opportunities, we'd encourage you to, like during the academic year, we'd encourage you to reach out to faculty on a one-on-one basis to talk with them if you're interested in working with them. I will say research opportunities are typically reserved for our PhD students, since that is, they are in an academic program that is, the goal is research. But that being said, feel free to talk to faculty individually if you are interested. Also, if you are interested in a teaching assistantship, or we also call them graduate student instructors, we will be sending out more information about that in the coming weeks. This is a possibility for a Master of Engineering student, but we just want to make sure students are aware of their time commitments and make sure that, like I said earlier, that they put their academics first and that they don't overwhelm themselves during the academic year with other commitments.
I just want to add that some professors have a regular meeting of research of students, and usually they welcome Master of Engineering students as well if they have the right background.
Thank you, Professor Adler. Yes, and we also, speaking again about assistantships, if you are curious about assistantships, we do encourage you to meet one-on-one with a staff member here in IEOR, just so we can talk a little bit more about expectations, what those positions are about and what to expect with those positions. So please do reach out to us through email if you are interested in those kind of opportunities. Another question I see is, when are we able to enroll in courses? So for the fall semester, you'll be enrolling in the courses in July. So we will also be having an additional info session during the summer. Typically, we have this in June where we talk about enrollment and the enrollment process. So that should be a little bit more clear to you about how to enroll in courses. And then I believe also the Fung Institute will have an enrollment info session as well to talk about enrolling in their leadership and capstone courses. So you go through IEOR to enroll in IEOR coursework, and then the Fung Institute helps with the leadership and capstone courses. All right. Any other questions? These have been really great questions. We appreciate you typing these out. Maybe while we're waiting to see if anyone else have any questions, if the faculty, would you like to give any advice or just thoughts as students are deciding about, making this decision about where they would like to attend graduate school?
Could you repeat the question, Erica? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering if faculty have any tips or thoughts about as students are making this decision about where to attend their graduate school, if y'all have any thoughts, tips, or advice or anything like that.
Yeah, we have a great program.
Yes, I agree.
It's a very intense program. There's a lot to get done in 2 semesters. Berkeley it's a very diverse campus, and there's a lot going on. And if you have the time and you don't need to sleep, you can take full advantage of it.
Yes, I will agree. Kind of with probably any program, it is what you make it. So if you take full advantage of all the different opportunities, you can, have a lot. There are a lot of different opportunities to take advantage of here. I guess is what I want to say. So, you can feel free to do as many or as little as you want, but you will get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah. I also want to add that through the capstone project, some of them involve companies from the area, and sometimes they lead into employment after, or at least internship after the program is finished.
Yeah,
Sometimes there's no guarantee of that, but that's a possibility.
Yeah, and it's happening in the past.
Thank you. And then maybe we can have faculty help with this question. So I have a question that says, given that the MEng program is designed to bridge engineering and leadership, how realistic is it for an international student without prior product experience to break into product management roles after they graduate?
That's more of an issue. That's more of an issue for your job and your job search. And the Fung Institute has a lot of support there. Julie McShane and her team will help you. But that's a decision the company makes. And there will be some courses here you can take at Berkeley to increase the chances you'll get that kind of position. But that's between you and whoever hires you. Sorry, Elon.
No, I say this is yours. So you did it.
Awesome. Okay, and then I had a question about financial aid scholarship opportunities. So if you were the recipient of a scholarship, that should have been indicated on within the information sent to you with your offer. We do have some additional information, and maybe Jenny, if you could help me find the Fung Institute page regarding financial aid and scholarships, we can drop that here in the chat.
Will do.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions?
Maybe I just want to add, about the product management. I know for the fact there are some fintech students after graduation, maybe not immediately, but after a year or so, they become a product manager in a technology company.
Awesome, thank you.
I mean, the MEng is a better degree towards that route than, say, an MS, because it does have a broader focus on leadership and innovation and strategy and business. So, but again, it is not a project management degree, and you don't have specific ways to place you. You're going to have to take the initiative and contact companies and look for those jobs as part of your job search.
Give it another few minutes. So, thank you, Jenny. She dropped in the tuition and financial aid information on the Fund Institute website if you have questions about that. We have time here for a few more questions before we do our breakouts. So if you have any other general questions, feel free to drop those in the chat or come raise your hand and come off mute. Oh, this is a good question. So will there be a breakout room for the general track? I think we'll have time. No, there's not. I will be here in the kind of the main session room if you do have questions though. So if you want to hang out, like if you're in the general track and want to hang out in the main room, I will be here and can answer any questions. Let's see.
Hey, Erica, we have a question in the Q&A. Do you want me to read that out loud, or do you have access to that?
Oh, I see. We actually, we did have a Q&A here. I think actually we did answer this one. So I think we're good. Yes, I think this one got dropped in my chat too. Thank you for making me aware of that, Yuri. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions at this time. If I missed your question, because I've been trying to kind of toggle some different things here. So if I missed your question, feel free to send me an email. Send our grad admissions email. Maybe we can drop that back in the chat one more time, just to make sure people have that. And we can answer your questions kind of through that. We also offer one-on-one Zoom meetings. So if you'd like to talk with us on a case-by-case basis, like, and maybe you didn't want to share it with everyone here, you have a question, feel free to set up a Zoom meeting with us too, and we can meet with you like that. So thank you, Yuri. So she dropped our email address in the chat. So we can send us an email and we can, respond through email or set up a meeting, one-on-one meeting later on. But I'm going to go ahead and get our breakup room set up here. So give me 1 second. Okay, so we're going to have, let me quickly just rename these so y'all know which ones to go into. So give me 1 second. Okay. All right, so I just opened our breakout room, so you should have received a notification to join either the FinTech or IPES breakout room. Again, if you'd like to kind of hang out, if you're in the management, science, and engineering concentration, you want to just kind of hang out and ask any questions, feel free to do so. I'll be right in here and I can help answer any questions. But feel free to go ahead and go to your breakouts, as well as faculty, please join the respective breakout room. Thank you. We will not be coming back, so thank you again for attending this info session.
Yeah, thank you all.